I wanted to have a conversation about Spelljammer and Cthulhu and multiple different conversation pieces. And it kind of struck me last night as I was talking to one of my players, and we were having a conversation. They're playing Call of Cthulhu, and we were just talking, right? So we were just having a conversation on horror. I probably should do a video on horror, like how to create tension and stuff like that. I've done it a few times in different games, but that's besides the point. Why Spelljammer and Cthulhu, or the Lovecraftian mythos, should go together when you play Spelljammer. Now, I bring that up because a while back, Sandy Peterson, the game company, sent us this giant biblical thing. It was huge. Woo! Look at that artwork. Dope artwork. You should check out his YouTube video. You can learn if you're into Cthulhu and Lovecraftian lore. Does a ton on it. It's down there or up there in the vast nothingness of the ether, where you can find their videos. Their Cthulhu Mythos for 5th edition, right? So Sandy Peterson came out with a book and said, hey, if you like the Cthulhu Mythos and all the stuff that comes with it, the Lovecraftian mythos, then this book is for you. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Lovecraft dealt with the outer reaches of space. All their stuff is very much, space, deals with all the space. And in the Sandy Peterson book for 5th edition, they bring new races into the 5th edition realm, right? So if you want to play a cat from Altar, you could play one of the cats, and that's legitimately a cat, like a house cat. There are Saturn cats and Mars cats, and the Saturn cats don't get along with the normal cats. You could play a feline, a cat, like a cat. You play a little black cat or something like that. And it all stems from the Dream Quest. And that was a book or a short story that Lovecraft wrote, and there was kind of like a secondary story that was written later on. Lovecraft wasn't really too happy about that, but that's besides the point. Lovecraft wrote the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, or something like that. And sorry, it's Lovecraftian words. It's hard. Anyway, in that story, a person can fall asleep and enter the dream realm, the dream verse. And in the dream verse, you could travel to other planets. You could go to the moon. You could travel to multiple different planets and meet multiple different entities. So right here, this is the Sandy Peterson Cthulhu Mythos for 5th edition. So if you're playing 5th edition, it converts really easily, especially now that Tasha's out. It really helps everything move along. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to bring up the pictures. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You have the Dreamland cats. You have all the history. The cats traveling to Dreamland run the full gamut from feral to domestic. However, they're intelligent. They are sneaky. They have like a philosophy behind them. And, this is a really nice picture. You have 9 lives and how between the dimensions and the gates of slumber. And it's really, really cool. And you can actually play like a kitty cat. That's a kitty cat. And they talk about like the society and the culture. So why do I bring up Cthulhu and Spelljammer? So the Dreamlands, right? So here's this whole big thing on the Dreamlands where it's kind of ethereal. So it says it right here. The Dreamlands exist alongside the material plane, much like the ethereal plane. And the material dreamers exist there only in a temporary dream-like bodies. So we know it exists similar to the ethereal plane. Now, obviously, we learned Spelljammer that in Spelljammer, you're kind of jamming, as it is, you're flying, but through the ethereal plane, where the ethereal planes have dead gods or living gods, and it's these new realms, or it's the mystical kind of ethereal realm, like it's out there, in space, but not normal space, psychic space, more or less. And here, Sandy Peterson goes into this whole conversation about how you can play with dreamers who are not, like, how you play with people who, like, if you don't want to be a dreamer, right? And it kind of sounds very similar to the Feywild, right? Like a very similar concept of where it's another plane of existence. And that's really cool because now you could take call the Cthulhu stuff, right? So you could take the Sandy Peterson stuff. You could be a cat. You could be a Groog. And one of these creatures and now playing your Spelljammer game. So this is kind of like a, hey, maybe you want to pick up this, and then if you're thinking about playing Spelljammer, you could also play a Cthulhu level game or like a Lovecraftian game where you could bring that in. Now let me show you what I'm talking about here. So I kind of disappeared right here. I went to the Dreamlands, and as you can see, this is straight from Spelljammers, and you could see there's the realm space, the wild space systems. That's the they used to call them the crystal spheres, but now it's the solid space systems there, the solar systems, and then outside of that is the Astral Sea, where you kind of jam across in your flying vehicle, and that's the you could go to the Dreamlands through here, because right there you could see you have the dead god. You see two different dead gods. You have astral domains, where your players can kind of pick up, and now you could get that Cthulhu vibe or that Lovecraftian vibe, where maybe you're fighting some Migos, and your characters have to like follow up on this. And this, yeah, again, this is the astral plane. This is straight from Spelljammers, right? Like this is on D&D Beyond. So this is kind of like a conversation where I'm saying like, hey, maybe you got friends who want to kind of dabble in Cthulhu. Yeah, now's the time to do it, you know? Boom, I'm back, you know, and now I'm back, popped back up. I got rid of the Dreamlands, not the Dreamlands, the Astral Plane, but I bring up this Dreamland thing, and it's really awesome. I now see a reason to have Lovecraftian stuff in my 5th edition, right? Beforehand, I didn't really see the overlap. Obviously, you could do whatever you want to your game, play it as you see fit. But for me, I was struggling because I was like, well, how do you bring in Lovecraftian elements into 5th edition? It's hard because in 5th edition, you're these almost superhero-esque characters. But now you can bring that level of weirdness, of insanity in, because your characters are traveling to different planes. So you could play a whole game where maybe I think it would be cool to have, you know, now we have the GIF and the astral elves, but it would also be pretty fun to see a cat, right? Like I'm just sticking with the cat because it's easy, but you know, someone can play the cat, and there's ways. Peterson, they wrote in ways for your characters to wear armor and stuff like that. You meld it into your body because it's kind of like a psychic ability the cats can do, and you can actually change your fur coating to kind of mimic your armor or magic items that you're wearing. So if you have like a flaming sword, your paws can go on fire and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Also, these, again, this is more species or races to bring into your 5th edition campaign, and you know, we already have a ton of them, right? But I think it's still fun because you could play a tabby cat from Earth, because remember, spelljamming does allow you to travel to Earth. So you could be like a tabby cat from Earth, and now you're in on a spelljamming vessel, one of these vessels, and you're traveling the universe, and you're like, oh man, you know, wait till I get back to Earth and tell my kittens about what's going on here. So that, I think that's fun, and I think it brings an element of accessibility to everything. Now you could start grabbing from, you know, Lovecraftian mythos. You know, we talk about dead gods, you know, the Lovecraft has multiple deities, the outer gods. Maybe someone accidentally woke up an outer god, you know, something that we don't know about, and it's coming to life and it's messing up, and that's your whole campaign, is to deal with this outer god, and you're traveling to these other solar systems. And while you're in the Astral Sea, maybe it's deadly. Maybe the Mind Flayers finally got what they wanted. You know, Mind Flayers look a lot like Cthulhu, right? Like squid face, you know. And look, right there, you have your fighter with your sword, and the Cthulhu-esque monster is now rising from the ether. So it's just something to think about. It's something to think about if you're really into Spelljammer and you're into Lovecraft like I am. You know, as you can see, I got my little Lovecraft tattoo right there, my Cthulhu squid monster there. So if that's something, maybe you're Git Yankee, know about Cthulhu, and now you build this whole new lore where Cthulhu is a mind flayer, because mind flayers, it's weird, right? Like a lore gets mixed up through the different editions. Mind flayers don't have gods, but they do sometimes, similar to beholders. They don't have deities, but sometimes they do. So it gets very weird. So you can now say, oh, this mind flayer subspecies is now trying to bring about Cthulhu, who is actually just, if you don't know, Cthulhu, while it's weird because like the Lovecraftian mythos is very fluid. So Cthulhu is both an outer god, an old god, and a priest. So that's something interesting. Maybe your characters come to Earth, and I remember there's been multiple Star Trek episodes where they like land in the past on Earth and they have to camouflage themselves. Maybe they come to Earth and you know they're dealing with the Innsmouth people, and you know you're casting spells and they're casting spells right back, but you also have to deal with the fact that you're on Earth. So maybe someone catches you on, you know, and they post it to TikTok. They're like, what is going on here? You know, now you have to like hide things and keep things secret. So you could play a secretive game and it'd be really interesting. Like, are there elves? Like suddenly, like legitimately imagine tomorrow it would go viral on YouTube, what I'm doing. Right? Like someone, like all of a sudden, they're just lightning. But that's what I'm saying. You could build a very interesting story now because of Spelljammer and because of the Lovecraftian stuff. You could, you know, now you could have your peanut butter and sardine sandwich. So that's all I'm saying. Hopefully you found this rambling interesting. Maybe it starts a conversation. Maybe it sparks something. We'll have links in the description below about the Sandy Peterson 5th edition conversions for the Cthulhu Mythos. And where you can pick that up, we'll have a link to the Sandy Peterson YouTube page where you can learn more if it's interesting, if you find the Lovecraftian stuff interesting, where Sandy Peterson goes into great detail about the lore and the creatures and the whole world. So yeah, check it out. So from Nothing Venture, Nothing Game, I hope this was fun. I had fun. I really was I'm super jammed about Spelljammer. I can't wait. I'm going to hassle as I am GM Jared, but I am getting to play in a Spelljammer campaign. I'm going to argue about playing a kitty cat to my GM. So I'm excited to be a kitty cat. Are you?